I just wanted for men to feel attracted to me and to say you look beautiful and have no strings, no nothing with them, not know them, so not have any consequences either.
I was fed up of just mixing with females, and I thought, well, the men are not going to come knocking on my door.
I never really considered myself that much of a catch, but finding out that I was, it was quite a surprise.
Well, the third person I met was actually the first person who messaged me. He was amazing in writing. He was just so deep and philosophical and interesting and funny and bubbly. And one of the times he messaged me, he said he was having a barbecue at his house and had some friends coming over, and I thought, oh, this just really sounds like the kind of guy that suits me, and why hasn't he asked to meet me yet? I would easily spend an hour a day messaging backwards and forwards with him.
Well, I was always very shy about putting myself out there until I did a course at university, which was actually all online.
Like, you imagine having a man come up to you saying, do you want to get married, do you want children, how many children do you want, where do you want to live? It's just like, you think, wow. But that's what internet dating allows you to do. It allows you to say, I'm 43, I want to get married, I want children, I want to live here, these are my interests.
This guy was just a whole different level in my eyes, and I just thought this really could be the one. And I could practice my German and possibly live in Germany one day the way that I planned and hoped. So it seemed perfect. And he said, well, when would you like to meet then? And I was so shocked and my heart was like racing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm finally going to meet him. I couldn't believe it. And I said, how about tonight? And he came back going, okay. And he sent me map coordinates of where he lives. So you had to go onto like Google Maps, whatever it's called, what is that world map thing?
Wrote a standardised letter for who I was, where I was going, and then just systematically went through, and all the women that I felt compatible with, I sent an email. If you're not interested in getting married, don't bother contacting me. So that was a way of sifting through it. And then started corresponding with Fiona. I think we both knew something was up from square one.
Was very aware that I was getting older. And I didn't feel as confident in myself about what I looked like. And then when I met Alan, of course, you know, it was just totally out there for me to meet a man the way I did, and for him to be interested in me the way he was, because he saw my heart. So my confidence was a lot greater.
The house where he was living was stunning. It was so beautiful. There was this huge, big, heavy wooden door, and I knocked on the door, and he opened the door, of course, and we kind of just smiled at each other to begin with, and I remember thinking to myself, he looked nothing like his photo. I was so gutted.
What happens if I don't like him, or what happens if I'm not attracted to him? In fact, we laugh about this now, because for a while there, when I looked at his profile and I looked at his photograph, I thought he was quite short and fat.
And she was actually quite surprised to find out I was 6 foot. So.
Extremely interesting about online dating in general is I think that it's teaching us how to treat relationships more like a consumer good. They become more like something that we consume, and we have the idea of, oh, I can go online and find somebody really quickly and easily because there's 500 people I can scroll through. I want a 5'10" blonde. Okay, here I go, you know, and just scroll through all of these people like you're shopping. But I'm not saying that relationships aren't as important as they used to be. I just think that because of, you know, the fact that we are above all else consumers, that people are going to start to treat relationships perhaps in a similar way to that which other things we can buy online.
He's very good with words, although he can't spell all the time correctly, but he's just really good with his words. And when he wrote me some poetry about how he was feeling about me, I was blown away. I was like, wow, no one has ever wrote me a poem.
The best thing about writing backs and forwards was it allowed us to examine, or allowed me to examine her heart and her spirit before I actually saw a photo of her, of course, but just to experience her physically in the room, allowed me to see past all of that, allowed me to see inside the package, which is what I wanted.
He could have been way uglier and I would have just still been there because I knew what was inside. It took until about day 3 to realise that it wasn't going to be so wonderful. And I just felt like this person in writing was not the person who I'd met. And I kept on trying to figure out who's the real person. Are they two? Is he a split personality, multiple personalities, or is this guy in there? That person is in there, but he's just got some major issues. So he made me feel quite low about myself. By this time I was just so bitter and disappointed. I really thought there's something wrong in his head. Why he could be so horrible to me. Like no one had ever been so horrible to me. That's the way I felt. I broke up with him just before I started my new job. About a month after we'd broken up, we did see each other again, and we slept together. And unfortunately, the result of that was that I got pregnant.
I really felt like I had a date with destiny. That was what I felt like. I remember sitting on the plane thinking, am I mad? Here I am, dressed up, getting on a plane to fly to the other end of the country to see a man I've never met before.
So I got there, and into Dunedin Airport, it's all glass windows. The plane had arrived early, and she was sitting there. And I stood outside, I don't know for how, I stood outside for a couple of minutes just looking at it, sort of thinking, I am just so far out of my depth, this is just scary. I would have never had the guts to even approach a woman like this.
He gave me his iPod and he put it in my ears, and I listened to this song before he'd even spoken to me. And then he handed me this box with a ring in it, and I was just like, oh wow, this must be him. This must be the man I'm going to marry. And I think it was at that point where I knew Alan is my man. This is him.
I had some random one-off sex with a guy that I couldn't stand, and the last thing I wanted to do was share a baby, Christmases, holidays, birthdays. I couldn't stand him. To the point my skin would crawl. And one day I got some mail and I opened it up, and it was a whole lot of photos of what aborted babies look like. I just broke down and cried and cried and cried. And after I finished crying, I was still kind of crying. I was so angry. I was pregnant for 2 months before I had the abortion, and I didn't really tell many people at all. There's no way I can be together and have a child to that psychotic. What if my child becomes like him? No way.
We walked along the beach together, and he shared his dreams and the plans he had for us. And all these years I've wanted to meet my man, and I've always wanted to walk along a New Zealand beach arm in arm with a man, and it had never ever happened.
Online dating will become the way that we meet in the future, that because we work more behind computers, we work longer hours, a lot of us are working from home, and a computer is pretty much a constant source of our day. People are religiously checking their emails and etc. That eventually that's going to be the way that our kids and our kids' kids meet.
I think that before someone gets involved in internet dating, they should clearly think about why they're doing it. I think that, like anything in life, it's best to be whole within yourself before you go seeking for fulfillment from a person. So, because even with finding a person, it's not going to make you whole.
Just a year has gone by, and we have got married, and we're so happy together, and we're so in love with each other, and we just think, wow, we feel like we've always been together, and it's not even been a year yet, really. I would never have met Alan, I don't think, any other way.